Edos worldwide have been wondering why Nigerian artists from Edo State have not been able to break into the mainstream African entertainment and take advantage of the opportunities created by the Afrobeat market across Africa today. On this edition of Edo Entertainment Control, we will be talking to DJs and entertainment personnel across London to tell us what Edo artists must do or what we're doing that we need to fine-tune in order to get on this gravy train. Stay with us. I'm with the ex-president of the Nigerian Association of DJs in the UK. Please introduce yourself, sir, and just tell us a little bit about your repertoire.
Hi, my name is Deejay Gabe, and I don't like the word ex. I'll probably use former as a better word. I'm a DJ. I've been DJing for quite some time now. I've DJed internationally, from Portugal to Marrakesh to Tokyo to the United States of America. I've been up and down. I've been around. Not only am I a DJ, I'm also like an entertainment consultant. I do a lot of consulting music-wise with a lot of businesses. I provide advice on the sort of best sort of music, and I give guidance. I mentor. I'm also a radio presenter, broadcaster. I write journals and documentary maker, and that sort of stuff. Yeah. I'm an all-round kind of guy.
In terms of entertainment, Nigerian entertainment, is that your remit, or are you're out of town? You're not just confined to African entertainment.
African entertainment is my main thing now, but it didn't always start like that. I think we started to kind of push the envelope when African music was kind of getting some sort of prominence here in the UK. We started to kind of, we were testing it out. We were out and about, testing the sort of consumers, people who consumed music as a whole. We played a lot of that. So once it started to kind of galvanize some sort of major interest, we now started to focus. Well, I started to focus mainly on the African sort of entertainment and music scene as such.
Because of your experience, was there any time when there was a language barrier, as an entry point obstacle into African entertainment?
Language has never been a barrier. As long as the beat sounds good, that's what I've found. I mean, the Francophone music, I don't understand the word of Francophone. I don't understand no French, but, once I hear a good Congolese sound, I would play it no matter what, or I would even dance to it. So language has never been a barrier for me personally.
So from a Nigerian or African standpoint, language has never been a problem to get into the African entertainment.
Language has never been a problem. I think what defines an African sound has to have the African ingredients. Language is one of the many, many unique recipes of making that African sound, regardless of whether people understand it or not. Giving that unique sound, that language, the beats, the drums, has to come from Africa. And that's one of the many ways you can identify African pop or Afrobeat or whatever you want to endearingly call it. You have to have something of an African nature to it.
Why, from a Nigerian standpoint, have you heard about Edo State?
Absolutely. I'm by extension an Edo man.
Great. Great.
By extension, I'm an Edo man, but I haven't heard of Edo State.
Have you had any modern Afrobeat coming from Edo State? Have you been able to identify?
Yeah, I've had music from it, but I wouldn't necessarily say it's just from Edo. I would say it's just a Nigerian pop musician who's based in probably Edo geographically, but it's not necessarily, I wouldn't just classify him like that's an Edo sound, Edo pop music or Edo music. Does that make sense?
Of course. We're here to talk about Nigerian artists from Edo State not having enough presence at the top end of African entertainment. Most artists from Edo State refer to themselves predominantly as Edo artists. You know, is that an obstacle?
I feel like it can be quite limiting if you just call yourself an Edo artist. I mean, you can be an artist from Edo State, but you don't have to call yourself an Edo artist. You know what I mean? And I know people can argue that you are dealing with semantics here, but sometimes it's important to kind of start as you mean to go on. If your aim is to conquer Africa, why don't you call yourself an African artist who happens to be from Edo, or a Nigerian artist who happens to be from Edo? So why do you need to just say yourself is you're an Edo artist? I feel like it can be quite limiting.
Let's talk about languages for a minute, because you said the beat is what catches you. Do you find that people move more with languages they're familiar with? To say, if you say Congolese, you're talking about French. If you say Nigerian, you're talking about Yoruba. You know, if another language.
But I feel like Yoruba is the language of choice for music. It's not necessarily it's not necessarily the right one. Neither is it the wrong one. It's just people just gravitate towards it, and there could be a number of reasons why people tend to gravitate towards Yoruba music. Maybe because of the commercial health of Lagos being where things happen. You know, people just tend to kind of speak that local dialect at the time. Not necessarily because, because I know people who are Igbo who still, make Igbo music, and people still dance to it. You know what I mean? And they're major successes. So I feel like language can be just an excuse, or they're just looking for little things. For one, I feel like having a mixture of languages in a song helps. Maybe one or two words in English. If you're trying to appeal to an English market, you don't necessarily have to make it to English. A typical example, moving on from music, you saw the latest news about Lionheart in Genevieve Inaje. Do you know why that didn't make it? Because they said she spoke too much English in the special category they were putting her in. So that goes to show you something. So I think the same thing applies to music. You don't necessarily have to because you want to appeal to a wider audience, you necessarily have to speak the lingua franca. You can always do bits and do a mishmash. That's what I think.
Yeah. So in various communities, like in the Edo community, indigenous languages is very prominent in the music, and like you said, Lagos has a commercial appeal because it's the hub for Nigeria, entertainment hub. So people accept music from Lagos with Yoruba language rather easier.
Yeah.
So if you're not from Lagos and you're faced with the same challenge, what kind of advice do you think? Your language is different? You're from the same continent or the same country, as in the case Nigeria. What kind of advice would you give to people who are singing with their indigenous tongue?
I would say keep singing with your indigenous voice. However, if you're trying to appeal to a wider audience, I would say have a bit, like a dose of English, a dose of pidgin English, something people can pick up out of your music, where people could say, okay, just one word, like I don't take, you don't take, something like that, or something people could just pick up that, that could appeal to a major number of Nigerians. And I think pidgin English is like the halfway house, where you don't necessarily have to speak too much English, but you can speak pidgin English because there's a huge number of Nigerians, not just Yoruba people, not just Hausa people, not just Igbo. Most Nigerians speak pidgin English. So I think that would appeal to a wider audience, I feel.
Have you ever worked with an artist that has a language introduction such as what we're discussing now?
I've worked with many artists, but I've never worked with an artist who has a language crisis, in the sense that they don't know why or what, or whether they should use their local dialect or do English. I feel like people who are just an artist just do what comes naturally to them. I think that's quite important as well. Being a creative guy, if your creativity is within your own dialect, I think you just need to let that shine. Because if you're trying to fake it, it transcends, it translates in your music if you're trying to kind of do something you're not. So I think staying authentic to who you are as an artist also is very important.
If you stay authentic, you must have the numbers. You must have your community first. I assume, like we said earlier in the interview, you must have your community show you love first, and then it grows to other places. Is that the only way if you have a language that is not so common worldwide?
If you have, I mean, you can still represent your community without necessarily. I mean, there's a two way. So you can still, if you want your community to be behind you, you can still represent your community without giving yourself away creatively as an artist. You can still be authentic to yourself. You see, language shouldn't be the thing that is the obstacle. There's so many ways you could get around the language thing. I mean, there's so many ways you could do. You know, you can incorporate your own tradition or where you come from without necessarily, if you don't want to, put in the language in between. Because even if you start going down the road of Edo State as it is, there are different languages within that state. So even if you pick one and you start doing your music in that, what about the other languages within Edo State? What happens then? So this is where you see the issue is creatively. I think you need to let your creativeness speak and be authentic to yourself. If you feel like, my authenticity is speaking my local language because that is where I get all the creativity from, then fine. But if you are an artist who wants to kind of appeal to a wider audience and your creativity knows no bounds, and you want to be able to kind of do a bit of your local dialect, pidgin English, a bit of English, a bit of other languages. I know of Yoruba artists who do Igbo music and Igbo music who do Yoruba artists. Not because because their creativity knows no bound. They just, kind of trying to appeal to a wider audience.
So as you said, your language can be your identity, or rather than an obstacle. But let's look at the market. Entry point for DJs. If your creativity started with your language, would it be easy for international DJs to accept your music, bearing in mind that they may not have your people that understand that language in the audience?
Absolutely. So I think you see, for me, there's two issues here. There's one, creating something that is authentic and it's you. And there's the other bit, is marketing it to a wider audience. So you go into the studio, you're an artist, you've got loads of talent, you create your music, you put a bit of your own local dialect in it, the production is tight, the music is nice, everything's nice, you create it. The second bit is trying to kind of market it out to a wider audience, starting with the DJs internationally, starting with the audience internationally. I think there are two different things. You as an artist should be able to market your own music. You also need to understand your fans. And your fans could be anywhere. In the advent of social media now, you can market your music to a wider audience. So for me, I feel like as an artist, you also need to be able to do your own homework. You need to know who your audiences are. You need to work on your social media, connect, because that is what social media is all about. It allows you to connect with your fans straight away. And once you can do that, you can begin to understand what your fans are like, what they want, where they're based, and you can actually start putting the music that just directly touches them. So there are two different things. There's the creative side where you go and do your music and you do your magic in the studio, and there's the other bit which is the marketing side. And I think one should not kind of mix both together in the sense that how do you get your music out there? You know, because there are people who I've seen, their music is not even up to par, but because their marketing strategy is so strong, they've been able to appeal to a very wide audience. And people are wondering, how did they do it? Because they spent more time probably doing more marketing than doing more talent in the studio.
So I would take it that you have said, regardless of your dialect or your language, focus on creativity.
Absolutely.
If you focus on creativity, you might stand a chance of outgrowing.
Focus on creativity and have a good marketing strategy. Understand? And if you believe in your product that you've created in the studio and the magic you've created, people begin to believe in it if your marketing is right.
Good. Now, they're complaining they don't. Just out of nowhere, do you recognize Edo music? Just because we're doing an Edo interview, do you recognize Edo music when you hear it? Or what kind of Edo music do you recognize?
Sleazy E. Is he from Edo?
Yes, he is.
There you go.
Okay. Is that the only? Is there any more?
It's not because, you see, I tell you why the hesitation is because I've never really kind of been able to drill down Edo music. I've heard music from Nigeria and I've not been able to say this is Edo music. And maybe because it's me, but because I just look at music from Nigeria as music from Nigeria, not music from North, South, Edo, Delta. If the music is good, regardless of what it is, I just play it.
So we want to always, conclude with a line of knowledge. There is, talking to you, there's been the part where you've said, concentrate on your creativity rather than your locality. One. And two, it's best to come out as Nigerian music or African music rather than Edo music. Point taken. We go to the next one. Local artists, not just from Edo State, but I'm sure it's the same with pockets of places where you have indigenous languages. They complain that they don't get international support from DJs or people who are Africans but are in the mainstream in whatever country. Is there a lack of understanding here between the artists at home and the international DJs or promoters on the other side of the Atlantic?
You see, as a young man growing up in Nigeria, when they said someone was local, it always sounded like a bad word. Back then, I don't know if you remember, but this was a local artist, this was a local rapper. But let's unpick that and understand the definition of local. What does that mean? That means you're only confined to a particular area or geographical area. That is probably why you're part of that, your locality. You're confined to a particular area. But with the advent of technology, I don't think one should limit, if you don't want to be calling yourself a local artist, you shouldn't do. I mean, you can't limit yourself to a local. I mean, because I live where I live doesn't mean I'm a local guy to, Greenwich or whatever. I could go everywhere. And, transportation, which is social media, can allow you go as far as you want to go. There is no limitation to, international. There's no disconnect. If you do your work properly, they'll pick your music. You see, Instagram and social media is a beautiful thing. I've been there so many times where I've seen artists who are there with their friends and they're just freestyling to the camera. And before you know it, they've gone viral. So why are they going viral in their locality? And why are other artists picking? A friend of mine featured an artist who I've never seen. He's not even a signed artist. Him and his friends just decided to do something on front of the camera and it went viral. So what's the difference between them and local artists is the question I ask.
So keeping in line, you say they should feel free. Don't be uptight that there is a way to success that you must follow.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the days of locality is gone. For me, there's no such thing as local rappers anymore. We're in a space where there's nothing like social media is not local. Social media is global.
Let's look at the other elements around promotions, like you've spoken, DJs, shows, and stuff like this. What type of understanding does any artist need around the world with indigenous language that a DJ can do for them in today's world?
As an artist, you need to be able to focus on your own brand as an artist. Use your social media to connect with your fans. And once that chemistry begins to happen, DJs will see it and they'll begin to pick it up. There's so many artists who've just connected. So people are very quick to run to DJs. They play my music. But the role of DJs has also evolved. They've gone from that space where they break records to they also are looking for the big thing. You know what I mean? They're also monitoring social media. They're also looking at other artists themselves. Because, it's like DJs once upon a time were middlemen. But now even they've now evolved into other things. So for me, the artist should focus on their music, focus on connecting with your fans, make sure your fans understand you and what your creativity is about, where you've come from, your daily struggles, your hustle, what is your story, what is your narrative, what is your creativity, what's all that about. Share that with your fans and let your fans, speak for you and support you. And then you see how DJs now come and start supporting you. And that's the way I see it.
Thank you. Let me ask, we're in a time where we have more artists than we've ever had in the world because
more music
than we've ever had.
The consumption of music is, I call it disposable music, because you have to, the way we consume music now, it's just like disposable. People don't do music to last years. People do music to they want to be here and now. So you do music. I got artists who release. I was just speaking to a particular artist who released 5-6 tracks in a month. You know what I mean? Because before you've actually digested one, the other one is gone now. And that's one of the many worries about a lot of these DJs. They say, I'm just getting used to this one. Even those major artists who are really doing well for themselves, they're also on that sort of wave where they're just churning out music. And I think it's got to do with, we live in an era where the concentration span is reduced drastically. People's concentration moves very quickly, short concentration span. So if you're not there doing that very regularly, people were quick to forget you. You know what I mean?
As a new artist, upcoming, Edo or otherwise, would you advise the same approach, or would you say for them, in order not to confuse the DJ, stay with one?
For me, if you're new to the game, I'm not saying would you release one single in 1 year. I'm saying watch how you release songs. Have some sort of strategy behind your release. Don't just feel the urge or be in the studio and you're with your friends and you feel the music so much you can't wait. You get trigger happy, you just release it, bam. You know what I mean? As a new artist, you need to kind of drip feed them, get them to that stage whereby, you're able to say, look, boom, this is me. And now they can start saying, yes, I need to see your catalog. I need to see what else you've got. I can understand the slight change, but don't make it too much because people will lose interest very quickly.
We're going to round up, but do you as a big DJ, and we're in the United Kingdom, and we can see the picture behind you. It's so nice. Is that New York?
It is New York.
And you look the part with your cigar. Do you have any mixtapes, volumes where you accommodate unknown artists and you give them? What do you do? Have you ever done anything in that respect?
I've done a lot of stuff. I've done talent shows where I give artists the platform to kind of showcase their talent, and I've done so many sort of mixes where I've kind of just focused on just homegrown talent. And I think it's important, but I think with these things, it works both ways. Like they say, it takes two to tango. You know, if I'm putting work and trying to release your music, the least you could do is actually also support that. And what I tend to get is some people just take a back step because I'm a DJ and I've been doing it for a while, and I know they want to ride on that platform. Whereas it's not the same. We need to be riding on each other's platform. If I'm doing the work and putting your music out there, you also need to be putting the work by just pushing that artist. Even if you've only got one track on it, if 22 tracks by 22 different artists were pushing it like it's their own project to every audience, imagine what that would be.
Very well said. Do you have any one of these projects coming out maybe in the end of 2019 or 2020? So
I'm in the new year. I'm thinking of working on something, but it'll be handpicked. But I know a few other DJs who do that on a regular basis.
And how can people, artists who are interested, do you go and find them online, or you also want them to find you?
I mean, music is good music. If I come across, there's so many times I'm just scrolling through my Instagram and I just see good music and I've never heard it before, and it's just good,
So you don't want anybody to find you?
If they find you, they find me. Edo Connect is the place to be.
Oh, DJ Gabe, thank you very much. And now, do you want at least people should follow you on Instagram so you can listen to their music? So if you tell them your contact details, and we'll wrap up.
You can follow me on Instagram, DeeJayGabe. That's DJ Gabe. DeeJayGabe.
Thank you so much, DJ Gabe.
Thank you, Edo Connect.
Thank you. Edo Entertainment News, reconnecting with Edo youths all over the world. For more Edo news, subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Edo Connect. Follow us on Instagram at Edo Connect.